what's up with it. It's your resident Dewfanatic. It's been weeks in the making, but as promised, we're going to do a tier list of sorts for my Mountain Dew flavors that I've tried over the years. A top 10 really is what we're getting at, because there's so much, and there's so much minutia that we would have to go through to make a full tier list that I really don't want to do. I could do it, but come on, it isn't that serious. So, obviously, if you're a first-time viewer, if you can tell by all this behind me, collecting Dew and drinking, it's been a big part of my life. So, people wanted to see what are the ones that I consider the grails in terms of Mountain Dew. So, my list comprises of several factors. It's going to be flavor, obviously number one. Would I have it in my fridge at any given time if it were a permanent flavor? So where does it land in my rotation? And ultimately there is going to be a nostalgia factor that does play into it. That is a bias, but it's one that can't be ignored. So there's that. And that's probably it. So as we roll along, I'll show you some things. I've actually taken the liberty of pulling out at least one bottle or can for each one, and I'll try to show you some of the interesting pieces of my collection that not everyone would have. So I want to start things off with an honorable mention. The first one is the 2009 Alliance Blue World of Warcraft Mountain Dew Game Fuel. This flavor I only ever tasted twice. Once in 2009 and once years later. And these were cans that were given to me as part of a gift set. And the flavor is very reminiscent of something else I've tried, but because I had it so few times, I don't feel like I could honestly, or give you a very accurate ranking of it on that basis. But as we go through the list, you'll see why I placed this one where I did in sort of the honorable mention category, because if I had it more, it's possible it could have been way up there on the list. So, with that out of the way, number 10 is Mountain Dew Voltage. Obviously, 2008, this came around for Democracy. It was the winning flavor, and it's been a mainstay. I drink it whenever I get a sore throat because for whatever reason, the way it hits me relieves the pain, and it's delicious, and on top of that, I get medicinal relief. I don't know. It's Mountain Dew. I couldn't explain it to you, even though I'm a doctor. But, gosh, it's a good flavor. It's held up. It's, almost 13 years strong at this point, and we're showing off the original bottle from the promotion phase of Democracy. So, strong flavor. Nothing else really to say about that one. Our second one is going to be Mountain Dew Whiteout. So this is number 9 on the list. This was the flavor that, of course, won the second Democracy, and it was the flavor that I voted for. After a certain other flavor lost the first Democracy, I made kind of a vow to myself that I would never, ever lose something like that ever again, and I campaigned hard, voted every day to make sure that this flavor would be the one that stuck around. It's it strikes you as a light citrus flavor. It has tones of grapefruit in it, and honestly, even saying that, the way that I could explain it to you probably most accurately would say it's a more syrup-heavy version of regular Mountain Dew. Now, obviously, with the grapefruit flavor in it, there's more to it than that, but it's one that has sadly gone to a regional exclusive status in recent times, and we've had these Pepcoin bottles has always been able to get, and I had to pay to have these shipped to me, so you have that surcharge on top of it. So kind of a sad state of affairs for Whiteout fans out there. like myself. But again, great flavor. Let's see, number 8. Baja Blast. This is a flavor, surprisingly, despite my lifelong sort of passion for Mountain Dew, that I didn't try until 2010. Don't ask me why. I guess I just didn't frequent Taco Bells enough. But once I had it, I knew I would never stop having it. And it was a great time in 2014 when we eventually got it in bottles. It's tropical lime. It's so famous that, you know, who doesn't know about it? It's probably the most iconic Dew, right next to the original. Okay, maybe Diet as well, but you know, you get the idea. And it's so big. It's a flavor that I couldn't imagine not existing at this point. It's one that whenever they do the limited releases, I eat it up, you know, like the McRib. And here we have another interesting piece from the collection. This was the 24-ounce can that came out in 2014. It had the Baja or Bust promotion going along with that. And this is a can that I had to track down while I was on vacation, you know, several states away. So glad I was able to get it into the collection, and I'm glad that Baja Blast sticks around and doesn't really go anywhere. You know, it'll have its off season where you can only get it at Taco Bell, but you know, it's a solid flavor, and it's one, especially in the summertime, I want it. It's something I have with chicken wings quite often when that's available. It pairs well, and honestly, food pairings in Dew is huge for me. So if I've got something that works, I'm going to stick with it, and Baja Blast is definitely one of those things. And let's not forget Mexican food. It's Taco Bell, after all. Okay, so 10, 9, 8, 7. In 2015, we got one of the most unusual additions to the Dew lineup. Obviously, some of the best looking collectibles in all of the history of Dew are the glass bottles. It's iconic, it's how things used to be, and sometimes it's how things should still be. And something to honor that heritage came out with Dew Shine. And it came in the long neck style. I think they did 12-ounce bottles. I don't have one handy. I do have one in the collection, of course. But this flavor was so strange because, you know, people liked back then to explain it as, you know, just another Sprite, which, of course, Mountain Dew Ice ended up being, and people even described Whiteout that way for who knows what reason. But it was sort of a lemon-heavy flavor. It was light. This was the kind of flavor that I had, like, on whenever I had vacation time. I could see myself sitting on a beach just sipping away at one of these. It was iconic for its look. Brings back Willie the Hillbilly on the actual label. It was just a phenomenal drink, but unfortunately because of the way that it was marketed, there was little opportunity for it to really grow, and they had it in these 4-packs, and of course individually as well, but you could buy them like this, and this is possibly one of the last ones I bought. The flavor only lasted for about 2 years, and while I was in university in 2017, I had bought up the last couple of these that I saw at one of the local grocery stores, and I was lucky to have even found them. But a really good flavor. If it had been in less expensive packaging, even though I like the glass bottle aspect of it, if they had done a little bit more in terms of, you know, try to get it out in cans and even the plastic bottles, I think it could have stuck around. It was not a highly offensive fruity flavor, because I know some people don't like that who drink Mountain Dew, even though we've got a ton of them. It would have been part of my regular rotation for sure. One of the best offshoots that they could have ever done, and I think it had so much potential that sadly just didn't see the light of day. So, yet another lost opportunity, but I'm glad we had the chance for Dew Shine. Coming in at number 6, Dark Berry. The Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012, and with it, they partnered with Mountain Dew and made a Dew flavor to promote the movie. Pretty straightforward. It was a mixed berry flavor, and I would have described it as a cross between a Voltage and Revolution. Maybe a couple of other things if I could have tasted it more and more, but it was one of the unique situations in terms of Dew flavors where it had so many form factors. You could get it in 20-ounce bottles, 12-ounce cans, and even 2 liters, which is kind of rare these days for a lot of flavors. It was really... It is one of those artificial flavors, but it's so unique in that sense that I just... It's hard to describe because I haven't had it in a long time, but it was one that all summer long I was sipping on this, I was eating white cheddar popcorn, and I just associated it with that, and it was just, kind of like my snack drink whenever I would want something like that. So, this was going with me. I would smuggle it into movie theaters because I didn't want to pay for Coke products, good lord. And, it was just a flavor that I think, again, would have stuck around in my regular rotation, and I think even if you released it today, it would hold up. So, who knows if we'll get the Riddler's Brew, because, that was supposed to be with the new Batman film that was supposed to come out this year, been pushed back. So, who knows if that will happen or not. But it could be the same flavor because, you got a similar color appearance. So here's hoping we get the comeback of Dark Berry in the form of Riddler's Brew, because this one was a treasure. All right, we're getting into the weeds here. The top 5 Dew flavors for me, and this one, if you followed my Twitter feed during 2016, I was passionate about it because we had the Dew-cision, but it's got a longer history than that, and I am, of course, talking about Mountain Dew Pitch Black. This flavor, I tell you, I tried it back in 2004 when it originally released. This was a treasure. And I tried Pitch Black 2. They had 2 liters of both flavors. And I got it from a local independent grocery store. And those were the only tastes I ever had until the 2011 comeback. And let me tell you, this stuff was good. Me and my dad made so much Pitch Black related artwork to win competitions and little giveaways and things that Mountain Dew and their partners were doing, and we took it seriously. We had a lot of fun doing it, but it was all because of this flavor being the Mountain Dew citrusy version of a grape soda. It was fantastic, and when it came back again in 2016 as part of the Dew-cision, like I said before, I was never going to let my favorite flavor in a competition lose ever again, and Pitch Black was it. I was a die-hard. I would have it all the time that summer, and I started to become a better cook then too, so I was making all kinds of interesting dishes, and chicken parm was one that I loved a lot, and I would always pair with Pitch Black. It goes really well, and going into university, it stuck with me, and that was what I paired with all the time. It was in my regular rotation. Fantastic. But, of course, as we all know, it sort of went the way of Whiteout in that it started disappearing and becoming more regional, and it came down to it where there was only one bottler who kept making it, and they had the Pepcoin label on the Pitch Blacks, and I had a few people find them in the wild, but it was so rare. So I paid for this a few times, but it's sadly all gone except for in sporadic fountain-only access at Sheetz and other gas stations. I think it will come back one of these days. It's not one of those flavors that I think will disappear forever, because obviously it's had an impact on the community and it won the Dew-cision. You can say it was rigged. I don't care. They wouldn't have done it if they didn't think it had the potential to sell. And I think it will again if people miss it, like myself. So, for that reason, it's in the number 5 slot. Okay, So here's where we get into the flavors that have just stuck with me for such a great amount of time. Number 4 is the Tropical Mountain Dew Game Fuel from 2011 that was sponsoring Modern Warfare 3. This flavor I could only get in 20-ounce bottles in my area. So these cans were gifts for the collection. Again, I think it came with the 2009 Game Fuel, the Wild Fruit. And honestly, this flavor was so good. It is more syrupy, but it had such a unique flavor. Again, it's one of those tropical things, but it wasn't like a typical tropical punch, Hawaiian punch. If you're thinking along that sort of line, you're not quite there. It's only described as tropical because it's a combination of things, but it's one of those that really works. So this flavor I would buy up, and it was all I was drinking in that fall when it was released. It was fantastic. Citrus cherry's good too, but I had to ignore it because this flavor was the bomb, and I knew it probably would not come back. So, cheers to you. Number 3, and honestly probably my least favorable prop for the ones I'm going to show you, is Mountain Dew Livewire. Again, one of those flavors that I've had since forever. It was a limited time flavor in 2003 and 2004 during the summers, and I tried it when it originally came out. I was pretty young. Probably younger than someone ought to be drinking a lot of Mountain Dew. But, you gotta make it do. So, this is obviously the Mountain Dew take on an orange soda. It's kind of weird when you first taste it. You might think of Kool-Aid, but that factor disappears pretty quick because the flavor becomes a little bit more complex. I know I'm describing soda like it's some sort of religion. Trust me, I'm not that much of a religious zealot about it. But it's one that the flavor always stuck with me, and it was a shame that we could really only ever get cans here in limited quantities, and it took me forever to add the can to my collection. But I did, and it's a flavor that, again, as long as I had access to, it stayed in the regular rotation, and it would be there even more with better access, even in the 6-pack bottles and stuff like that. And here's the other little piece of live wire gear I got, these wristbands back from 2011. I know it's a little dusty. Look, it's a big collection. But we had these that Dew did with the Pitch Black and Supernova and Typhoon promotion. And I have a lot of Dew stories from that summer that I could really get into, but that's not the purpose of this video. So, the top 2 are tied for first place, really. So I didn't do, these 2 are number 1 and then do 9 more flavors. We do accurate rankings here. We don't create numbers where they don't exist. These flavors, in my mind, are equivalent. One is the base of everything Dew related. The other is an offshoot flavor that really has made me it's why I am the way I am about Mountain Dew. So, at the same time, regular, original Mountain Dew, and Mountain Dew Revolution. So, I'm going to start talking about the original first. This is the end-all, be-all in terms of Mountain Dew because it's what started it all. It's hard for me to say that any flavor is as good, let alone better than this, but there is one for me, obviously. The reason that all of the other flavors work is you have the citrus background of this flavor, and if this was not good, you would not have the rest of it. So it's weird for me to see anyone saying, like, oh, Baja Blast is their favorite, oh, I love Code Red the most. If you don't have this, you don't have any of it. So to me, it's weird that if you love those but don't like this, do you really love Mountain Dew? I don't think so. So, this flavor has been the core, the basis for everything, so I have to give respect to that. But saying all of that, Revolution is what really kicked off my fandom, because I saw this flavor, Supernova and Voltage, everywhere in the summer of 2008. There was so much of it in these bottles and the 12 packs, it was inescapable at any store practically that I went to. And eventually, my curiosity got me, because I had tried all the other flavors from the past. I had Code Red when it originally came out, Livewire, Pitch Black. I think the only one that I may have missed was the Citrus Cherry Game Fuel, because, ironically enough, I wasn't interested in Halo at the time. What are you gonna do? So they really weren't selling to me at that given moment, but eventually they did. But Revolution, after sampling all three, this was the third one I tried, and I don't know if it was the first time I tried it, but definitely about the second or third time, I knew this was the flavor I wanted, and it was such a shame because Voltage was obviously pulling way, way ahead in the competition. So I stocked up this flavor, and I still have some cans to this day. This stuff is the most refreshing, even though it's fruity and a little syrupy, it's the lightest flavor of Mountain Dew that probably has ever been created. It's so good, and I wish more people could understand that. We have rumors all the time around this flavor coming back, and it's something, if you've been around here a while, you know that I want it to happen. And one of these days, it's gonna happen. It has to. I've got to believe that in my mind. There's a leak right now from someone who allegedly received a survey, an image leak of this and a Revolution Zero that would possibly replace the Riddler's Brew slot for this October or around that time. If that is true, I'm going to lose my mind. There's no other way to say it. This is why I am so passionate. This drink was so good that it made me a loyal customer. It really is. And obviously, if this stuff were to come back, it would be part of my regular rotation, and I would buy so much of it that it would be financially questionable, let's just say. So that is basically the story of me and Revolution and my top 10 flavors of all Mountain Dew. I know this was a passionate rambling, but it's something that folks wanted, and I figured it was a good chance to show off some interesting pieces from my collection, and there are many more to eventually show off. Now, having said all of that, the collection is rather large, and I know people have wanted to see really the ins and outs of it. I want to do that one day, but it's going to take a lot of time, because even pulling off the few pieces that I did, they're dusty, they need cleaning. Getting it all in one place is also difficult because the collection's so big. I have it scattered. So, I mean, it probably will happen one of these days, but it would be one of those things where if I can't do it justice, I don't want to do it. So, be patient with me. One of these days, maybe when I have another big move in my life, maybe it'll happen then. But, the more you prod me about it, the greater the chance there will be. But having said all that, I hope you bared with me, and I know I've gone on long enough. The next thing will be the Rise Mountain Dew flavors, the new energy drink line. We'll be going over each of those once I'm able to get them all. I've only found 4 of the flavors so far, so we'll do videos, individual reviews for each of those, and whatever else comes out next. So, for the comments of this video, if you stuck around long enough, give me your top 5. What do you like? What do you wish you got the chance to try that you never did? Let me know, and as always, I'd pick them up, all of the collection pieces here, if I could, but you know, we're gonna sign off with Old Faithful here. Do the do.